Go. Okay. Welcome, everyone. Sorry, I'm looking down at my cat, Callie. She's literally just put herself across the entire keyboard. I'm like, okay.
Cats are the best.
I know. It actually, you know what? It reminds me of probably what God is with us. Like, I'm right here. Hey, you're stressed? Hey, I'm laying right here for you. Like, I want to be near you. Like, sometimes I'm like, why do you guys want to be near me today? Can you not get in my way? And I just, as I was looking down at her, I thought, oh my gosh, what if I think of it? This is probably how God is with me. And he's like, I just want to play and hang. And I'm like, hey, I'm busy. I'm doing business. So welcome everybody. If this is your first time, which I think everyone that's on live right now, it's not their first time, but we are doing Breakthrough Fear, the Fearless Experience. This is the first one that we have the Camp Gambini community up, and that's what I just wanted to share with everybody. If you have any friends, if you don't have the link, let me know. I'm sure Elle could probably put it in here for us because Elle is just our superhero tech gal. I'm so blessed to have so many people God has brought along to support me. But I just wanted to make sure people knew this, because I just know that every single episode, I believe, was curated from God. And it was strongly on my heart to not charge for this, to make this something of huge value to be put into Camp Gambini, the free community under Connecting the Dots. Throwdown Prayer Thursdays, which will be today. Don't get confused. It is today at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and Motivational Monday will continue to stream on my personal, but then I will be uploading them in here, because a lot of times other things get on your feed and you can't see it. And on your personal Facebook page, there's not a place where you can really link all your videos. So this has been something we've been working towards. So I just want you guys to know, even if it's already, I literally posted a video that I did before we started, and God said, post it again and say, hey, you're invited. And I'm like, last night after I see Joe, I was like, I did not even do any promos. And I'm like, God, do you want me to do anything? And then he was like, yeah, I want you to repost that part. Hey, you're invited. And so I just felt like it's not just an invitation for every person that is watching, but I just wanted you guys to know that your friends and family, or any person that's on your heart, like you're like, oh, one of these, it will remain in here. So even if they're behind, and I do have all of the episodes are tagged to the top, it kind of works like a Facebook group. So it makes it really easy to find it, and all of that. So I just really felt the Lord say to make sure there was no misunderstanding. This is still an open invitation. And even after we end, this community will continue to go on. And I want it to be something just to provide value. And it's important to me, because I've been in seasons where the income has been where I couldn't afford to join the next thing. So as I've developed my coaching program, I really wanted to have something that continued having community. So I will probably be doing something once a week along with my, but for sure you're going to have two contents, which is Motivational Monday and Throwdown Prayer Thursday. And so without further ado, I am so excited to have our guest. And you guys all know my rule is I have to know them, and they're my friends. But as I was preparing, I don't even know if Joe remembers this, so I felt like I was supposed to share the first. I think I had seen him, but my first like real experience with Joe. First of all, we all know well, at that time it's probably like 45, but I'm 49 now, right? And so here I come to this new church, and honestly, I was so encouraged and so blown away when I first showed up. At the time, it's not there anymore. We have it in different modes, but it was called Innovation Church. And I was in a season of transition. I didn't know, and God was trying to equip me for new things. So it really didn't have to do with my old season of church, but this is my first time I'd ever experienced this. I grew up in the same church for 18 years. So I realized I looked at this loyal thing. So I first met the Kaufmans at their coffee shop, and who were the co-senior pastors. And but then when I started to come to the church, and I'm like, wow, I have never met so many, and I hope you don't take this offensively, Joe. I've never met so many young people that are so seasoned in God. Like they're rooted. They don't come across immature. They're young in age, but there is a maturity and something that is being poured out here that in a lot of other churches, there's like this gap from like 18 to 25. And so then you kind of see they start to come back around 25 to 30, maybe they get married with kids, but there's this gap, and they still kind of come across like they're 18. And so I'm seeing these people that are just powerful. And Joe and his wife were two of them. Matter of fact, Tanisha, I think she had just had Benji, because I remember we were also in a women's study Pastor Lori was leading. And so I remember they would come to church, but there was this one specific time, and I think Matt Gonzalez, who was co-senior pastors, Matt and Desiree at the time. Now, like, it's super exciting to see and get excited about transition seasons, because I can look back on 4 years and see so much amazement, and to get to be under people, to see they were those courageous, bold pioneers and stepped out, it gave me the courage. And I'm so glad, even though I fought God and would have a big cry fest of why am I not being included, I'm so glad that I still went, because it was for that season, and I got to be under and see something that I never been exposed to before. But with Joe, it was a really hard time for me. I had just gotten laid off a second time after a wrongful termination, actually third, after my business partners. My mom had almost just died, and I was really struggling, and I was feeling like the words that God had given me maybe weren't going to happen. And Matt had given this word, and he called, I think he called Joe down, and he said, and for some reason I was sitting up front, which I don't normally do. So for some reason I was within the first couple of rows, and Joe walks over and he said, yeah, I have something for her. And it was me. And he said, and I'm trying to remember the actual verse, but it's basically the one about what the locusts have stolen will come back to you. And no one knew that this was something that was a promise of 10 years ago that God had shared. And he just starts, his boldness of speaking what God was pouring through him. And I know this is something that he carries in the marketplace and everywhere he goes. And I can just remember weeping, and I would re-listen to that. Unfortunately, I lost it, Joe, but it must have just been for a time, because I was so upset when my phone died. And I'm like, honestly, the only thing I was upset about was that one recording. I'm sure there were others, but that one was in such a moment for me. And I can remember it, I went from like, I was just a puddle. I'm sure, I mean, Joe's so sweet and sensitive. He probably wasn't thinking this, but it's like, oh my gosh, this lady is losing it. But in the church, honestly, if we're doing and partnering with God, the losing it part is a good thing. Like, we want to see that and don't want to be too uncomfortable, because that means God is doing something. So all of that to say, if you do need to grab your Kleenexes, or if there is anything, don't be surprised if God uses Joe in all of those ways. And so I have, Joe and I actually are in the same church family now. We meet in a little coffee shop. And after I got Esther to say yes, I had drove to church, and Joe was behind me, and Joe is, and I'm going to have Joe just introduce himself a little, but he is extremely busy and balances an amazing being a dad and a husband and everything. And so I had asked him if he, about a few things, and he was like, yeah, God's telling me no right now. So 6 weeks later, he's sitting behind me, and I just asked Esther, and I'm fighting with God. I'm like, God, oh gosh, sorry, this is Callie. I don't have my,
That's perfect.
Yes, and my hand went up too. I don't even know how to take it off right now. Okay. Anyway, hi. Um, so I turn around and I feel like this part of the story is important because you guys might see me and you may think, oh, you know what? Jodi doesn't get scared. The fears don't rise up. I do, because I'm thinking to myself, God, you want me to turn around and ask Joe this? So I turn around and the service was about what God is calling you to do next. I would never have known what God was speaking to Joe in the midst, but I had to take that leap of faith. And because he kept saying Joe, I thought, God, is it Joseph Wilson? Because maybe that's who. And he goes, no, Joe, pony behind you. And I kept fighting him. I'm like, okay, fine, God, I will ask him after this. So the lights go up and I'm like, hey, Joe, what's going on? What's God doing in your life? And he goes, well, he just spoke to me about the fact that I need to launch this part of my business to help people write and be top selling like authors like he is, which was what I was waiting for him to help me with. By the way, PS behind the scenes, because God said it was Joe with that too. And then I kept trying to get in other classes and nothing has opened up. Like literally I get on and there's glitches on the system. And I'm like, what's going on? And I go, well, when are you thinking about doing this? And he goes, April. And I hear the Lord say, ask him. And he goes, I would love, yes. And in all fairness, as I'm going to let Joe speak here, I want you to know it's not because he's very sensitive to what God is saying. And that's what I love about Joe. And he will honor when God says not yet. And so I wanted to be honorable of that. I'm thinking there's nothing worse when you're because I sensed in his not now, it was an obedience. He was being obedient to what God was telling him. So in my head, it wasn't necessarily a fear, more of like, okay, Lord, I want to honor my brother in Christ, my friend. And so I share that because I feel like there's someone that needs to hear that, because there may be something that even 4 weeks ago was one answer. And if you're hearing the Lord say it again, you'll never know, because had I not asked Joe, we wouldn't have him here. So Joe, share a little bit about yourself, and I'm just going to give you the floor. And as you know, you can interact with people. We will have a replay. You can give people little moments if you want them to do a breakout, write anything down, all of that. So if you just want to flow, that is cool too.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, Jody, thank you so much for having me. It is a huge honor. You're always crushing it. And so for you to come and ask me to be part of your breakthrough session, I just thought, man, this is such a great idea. Let's do it, And yeah, you're right. At the beginning, um, I did feel, that I'm in the middle of, obviously, as many of you are, entrepreneurs, running businesses, having families, but I'm also in the middle of finishing a documentary that we're doing in our um, business on field workers, and it wasn't the right time. However, it was the right time when you were sitting right in front of me and we began to talk. So I'm so happy to be here. For those that don't know me, my name is Joe Pony, and I am a friend, an encourager, somebody that loves to help people. I have a wife. Her name is Tanisha. I have a son named Benjamin. I run a business, a video marketing business that has been established for about almost 6 years now. And we predominantly work within the Bay Area, in the Silicon Valley area. And that has been an adventure. It has been a fun time. And during the whole time, I really came from a background of walking with the Lord, but being within that church ministry or church realm, if you will, until the Lord had told me it was time to go into the marketplace, and I did not know what to do. I was like, wait a sec, I thought you were calling me to lead revival and pray for the sick within within the church, and it looked so different what the Lord was telling me to do. I was inspired by men like Joseph, who served Pharaoh, and Pharaoh called Joseph the savior of the age. I was inspired by men like Daniel and Nehemiah, who operated in different realms, but who served the Lord. And so the Lord had begun to show me all these people who began to infiltrate culture by just doing great work, standing out from the rest by the work they do, by the quality of work they do. And that began to inspire a spirit of excellence within me when I started my business. And I say a spirit of excellence because as entrepreneurs or as people um, that release content, I know if you're hanging around Jodi, that you guys are crushing it as well. I wish I could hear and get to know each and every one of you, but as content creators and as people that engage with the marketplace, we tend to battle or come face to face with the spirit of perfection. And I believe that perfection is the enemy of profit. You cannot create profit if you are always trying to perfect. So remember, and you could write that down, perfection is the enemy of profit. Knowing and learning that lesson truly freed me because there's never the right moment, there's never the right content, and there's never the right product or the perfect product, I should say. Because even products that are released today in our age, if you get it within your app, most likely than not, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, there's an update. And so remember, when you are when you are releasing content, when you're looking for the right moment, there is no right moment, there is no perfect time. You just got to go for it and do the best with what you have. That's what excellence is, and that's what I did. That's kind of like the morale and the principle that I have is to remember excellence is most important over perfection. And, people don't want perfect anyway. So that was something that I started with in my business. And coming from a background of ministry, I've been able to know the Lord, and it has been a journey for sure. Walking with Him, it's almost as if I became a prophetic entrepreneur, because I've been able to walk with Him, and it has been easy. Easy because all the pressure is on Holy Spirit. It's not on you. And I mean, you could write that down. If you don't remember anything that I say, remember that one thing is that all pressure is on Holy Spirit. Um, I think is in the book of Jeremiah where it says that I will put my spirit within you, and I will make you obey my laws, and I'll write my our laws on your heart, and I will guide you, right? Um, and also in the book of Ezekiel, I'll put a new heart within you. And so I just allow Holy Spirit within me to move and to govern my heart as He wills, and just be led by His peace. And that's what's most important. It's not an activity. It's not a chore. It's just me living life, doing what I got to do, and then and being sensitive to His leading and guiding by His peace. And maybe we can get into that a little bit later. But when I share, I'm going to share a little bit, and maybe we can have some interactions with questions and things of that sort. I think that would be awesome. But before I dive into a little bit that is on my heart, I really feel like this is a season of new assignments. It's a season of upgrade. And I believe that even for people that are here listening to this, the Lord is just doing a new thing and shaking off disappointment. Um, for those that have experienced disappointment, for those that have put their hope into something, it didn't turn out as they thought. I just believe that the Lord is shaking off disappointment. He's giving new lenses, new perspectives to see. And I believe that God's going to do something awesome in our midst. If I have the privilege to pray for you all, and after this is done, that would be amazing. So that's a little bit of who I am. Um, in 2020, when the world was in chaos, I know that there's people that run from the big waves, and then there's others that run toward it because they want to surf it, and that was what I was in 2020. That was kind of like my attitude. I wrote a book called "Follow Your Curiosity." It is a book that is very dear to my heart. It's to help. It was a book that really inspired me to, or excuse me, it was um, an, a need that I seen in the marketplace. Um, it was a need that I seen because everybody was losing their job and everybody didn't know what to do with their time. And I discovered how many people, you know, um, here follow your passion and they don't know where to start, whether it be because they don't know what they're passionate about, or maybe they don't have a passion, or maybe they have multiple passions. Where do they begin? I believe for me, the best advice that I've discovered is to follow your curiosity and your greatest interest, and that will lead you to your uncovered skills, and that would lead you to ultimately your passion, because passion is something that's developed. Well, I wrote "Follow Your Curiosity." It just so happened to become a bestseller, and I took courses how to write books. I looked up blogs. I've paid money. I had coaches, and I was just flat out disappointed because um, I've there was a lot of money that I spent that wasn't, that could have been avoided. There was time that I've spent that could have been avoided with the right coach, and although I took so many things and so many courses and things of that sort, I've developed a strategy how to write, edit, and publish your book, as well as how to write, publish, and market your book. And my book ended up becoming a bestseller, and which was pretty awesome. But there's a strategy to it, and it's been my heart within the second quarter of this year to help other writers as well, write and publish what's in their heart. And I believe that we're all called to leave a legacy behind, whether it be an inheritance, whether it be knowledge or wisdom, or whether it just be an impact on the world. And what better way is it to leave an impression on the world other than writing a book? And that's what something that I'm basically exploring within this second quarter of this year, is that I am helping people write books. I'm developing a course currently, and I just want to give back to the community of go-getters, because they're the ones that are helping everybody else, but who are helping them? And I just believe that it's important that we leave an impression behind and leave a legacy that is lasting. So that is a little bit about myself, and I would love to interact with you all. If there is something that I've said, or something that I did, or that I did in my past that I've kind of revealed, um, I would love for this to be interactive, because I would love to see if there is strategy that I could help with in keys of entrepreneurship. I think as the sons of Issachar knew the times, and I think that's so important, is to understand, to identify the time that we are living in, being able to adjust and be ahead of the curve, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to business, when it comes to the marketplace, when it comes to writing, whether it be, how do I get this book started? This is something that has been in my heart. Um, I would love to answer any questions on writing, or finally, whether it be on understanding what the Lord is doing in your life. I think for many of us, we put so much pressure on ourselves to not miss the Lord, and I think that the injustice is not understanding that you are a son, that you are a daughter of God, and that it is a lot easier to recognize what the Lord is doing. Many times we don't even know that we are in step with him, because we know our flaws, we know our weaknesses, and we can be so analytical on ourselves when the Lord isn't. And so if there's anything that I would love to do right now, is to answer questions and interact. Let's engage with one another.
Awesome. I already saw we have one question, but I wanted to first just welcome Craig Pickerel, who Craig is has helped me a lot, Joe. Matter of fact, I keep saying the two of you guys, he's the one that does the film, and and I keep like forever when I met Craig, I'm like, you need to there's something, you need to meet my friend Joe. And so anyway, I just wanted to also celebrate for one quick minute, because Craig doesn't necessarily always post on his page or tell anybody, but I got to hear first of all, I'm privileged that he wanted to join on right after he was just speaking. He just did an hour in a Business Kingdom conference. He was the
Wow.
speaker. It was powerful. I just want to shout out Craig. It was awesome. If you have that link in here, I was trying to find it, had a few little challenges this morning, but if you have that link to that conference, it's been fire. Ebony has put it together, and his was so good. Like, I have to go back and watch it because I had to cut off to get ready. But so I just wanted to celebrate him, and he was talking all about superheroes, and I see he's got a new superhero too. So I just had to, I couldn't not share with that, but I see that Rachel says she has a question. Rachel, do you want to ask it to him, or are you in a place where you can't take your mic off? So her question,
I can't
oh, there
really
we
take
go.
my mic off too long because babies and stuff. But my question, I did type it. I do have a few books in me, including children's books, but I haven't figured out how to write while having my life go on too. So that's my question.
Yeah, so basically, how can you write what's in your heart?
Yes, but in the right format for a book.
Got it, got it. So, Rachel, it's good hearing from you. It's been a long time.
Yes.
Um, but it's so great to hear from you. And it doesn't surprise me that you have a few books in your heart, because just knowing you, super inspirational, super smart, and I know that whatever's in your heart, it's definitely going to help so many people. So, um, if I can reframe your question, is it, how do I find time to write what's in my heart, or how do I format what I already wrote?
Probably how do I format what I've already wrote?
Got it. Okay, so after you write your draft, because that's what a first draft is, it's something that's not complete, it's something that's not edited. And what needs to happen is, after you write your first draft, I would give 3 to 4 steps. Number one is to begin to self edit your first draft. Self-editing looks like speaking it out loud, make sure it sounds like it makes sense to you. And after you comb through it by your self-edit, whether it be reading it or speaking it out loud, I would have beta readers, people that are in this particular industry or people that are part of your target audience. And I would recruit 2 to 4 beta readers to read your first draft. When they are able to read your first draft, I would give them a deadline. I would give them a time frame to read your first draft and send you back notes on what they think, what is helpful, what is something that you can elaborate on, what's something that they think you should incorporate within your first draft. And after you get all that feedback from your beta readers, um, begin your second draft. Your second draft will be your manuscript that you incorporate that feedback from your target audience, from people that you trust. It's not people that you find off on the street and that are going to, you know, say hurtful comments. These are people that you can trust, people that you know that are part of that target audience that you want to reach. And after you get their feedback, you incorporate it into your second draft. Then you can send it to an editor. And an editor is someone who professionally edits manuscripts. And you can find professional editors on Upwork or Fiverr. And that is something that is a step-to-step process before you get it professionally formatted and then published on Amazon or Ingram Spark or Apple Books store. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, that's
Um,
perfect. Thank you.
of course, of course. I think that's so key is having beta readers because many times people write and they just publish it and they find pushback. They find you know they find disconnect with their target. And when I wrote Follow Your Curiosity, I sent it to 3 or 4 people. I sent them deadlines. I said, hey, can you give me some feedback on each chapter that I wrote? And they gave me great insight, great feedback. And I was able to incorporate that. And I think that was what separated me from other writers, is that I had people that read it and that gave me great feedback. Also, I did market research. I looked at what people were doing within the industry that I wanted to write in, and I seen what they did good. I seen what they did bad. I read reviews on other books that were similar with this self-help type of genre that I was writing. And I just was able to write what was in my heart, but also incorporate the feedback and things that I seen in the marketplace. So I hope that information helps, and feel free to always message me if you ever have a question.
Great. Thanks so much, Joe.
Mm.
I do have one other question, and it doesn't have to be answered right now or anything, but just while it's in my mind. Um, when you have so many ideas for books that you know you're going to write, how do you figure out which one to start with or which genre to start with, if you know you're
Such
going to write multiple?
Yes, such a great question. Um, I think you have to start with the book that is burning on your heart the most. That is something that will fuel you. That is something that will push you to get it done. And whatever, fires you up the most, I think that's the book that you have to start. Um, because for me, I I have as well as you. Um, I have several books within my heart, and children's books from, helping entrepreneurs, and that's what Follow Your Curiosity was about, was helping entrepreneurs. Um, and also I have a few others, but I really felt like, okay, what does the marketplace need right now? Because all of those books fired me up, right? Um, but I I s- I seen what the marketplace was in need of, and the marketplace with at that time there was about 30 million people unemployed, and a lot of questions surrounded them, like what major should I pick, is this job right for me, should I stay with this career, should I start a business? And with so many options in today's ever so changing market, um, I really felt like it was time to help people ignite their greatest interests, and being able to identify um, what opportunities to choose, and to uncover, their hidden skills and giftings. And so for me, being able to identify what the market needed, um, that's what compelled me to write my first book. And so uh, if all of those books are burning on your heart, check what the marketplace needs, and that can help you decide. And this April, I am I'm actually opening up coaching for authors before I launch my course. And if you would love to be coached, let me know. I can send a link or send an email to Jody, and I could really help you complete those books and really develop a team to help you succeed in writing and publishing and marketing your book.
That'll be perfect. Thanks so much,
Okay.
Joe.
Okay, of course.
That is so awesome, Joe. So put the link in here, send me an email. I will attach it when I upload it into the community. And that is something at the end I was gonna ask you anyway. I already knew, and I'm on that list, right?
Yes, yes, of course.
Well, don't forget. Sorry, that was probably very inappropriate, people. But I also wanted to just add that God called her to publish books. So that was
Wow.
another one I kept thinking, yeah, that you two might somehow want to connect. But I'm looking to see if anyone else has a question. If you do, just raise your hand on screen, type in. And I knew many people have a book in them that God has been bringing here. I've noted, that's why I was additionally excited. So does anybody have a question?
Craig has a
Craig,
question in the
okay.
chat.
Okay, Craig says, how does someone get coaching?
Sorry, I missed that. I missed the part where he said like if someone wanted coaching because he's getting ready to launch his thing. Because I know my wife Hannah is starting to try to work through her book that God's put on her heart, and so I was just curious how someone would go about getting coaching from you.
Yeah, so I that is something that I am starting in April. Um, and that is something that I really felt led to do, is really launch authors into the marketplace. And so I can send a link to my email, because this is something that is in the beta phase, and I have the course already in its I would say in its middle phase, right? It's almost done, not there just yet. There's some fine tuning, but there is the availability to coach before it gets started, and then also experience the course itself before going live. And so I would love to leave an email, and that's something that we can um, head towards, because I think it's super important that authors be coached and not just have a course, because it's one thing to have a course and go through it, but what I've discovered is that authors can go through imposter syndrome. They can go through disappointment. They can go through self sabotage. Like, is this book really good? Is this really going to affect people? Am I doing this correctly? And it's thoughts and it's feelings that many authors have experienced before you. And so I've realized that you not only need a online course, but you need a coach as well to coach you through it and to help you deliver that baby, because it is a baby that you are delivering when you're writing a book. It can be painful at times, but it's once you deliver it, once you press publish and you see how it's affecting people, when you see the lives that you're touching, and then also you also have passive income that comes in monthly. It is truly a joy, and it is something that I decided to do, is to help authors.
So awesome. And I'm looking for it. I'm going to wait for, since no one, if raise your hand if you have a question. If not, I had a couple questions I thought I was going to ask you, Joe, that maybe we'll get other people asking questions. So there there was a couple parts. One, I know so this is not 100% just around the book, because I keep going, okay, what area should we go? So I think I'm going to ask you the question around the book writing first, and then I'm going to go back to this other question. Okay. But keep in mind, because you might have an answer that adds to this one too. And you said that you realized you were a prophetic entrepreneur. Is that correct? And
Correct,
D,
yes.
yeah. And D commented on that and said, oh, prophetic entrepreneur. So my question is, how do you nurture that? And how do you, because what we're talking about here, which you have totally conquered, is fears. And so where I wanted that, I think, is one area, like, how do you nurture, okay, I know I'm called to prophesy. I could show up at church and totally release it because it's kind of comfy. And then how do you even use that to step into a new place? So I wanted to make sure our listeners heard clearly that you decided to start to write your book last year when COVID hit. And what you didn't say, and I'm sure there was a lot of pushing through of fears, of things you had to push through, is it was pretty fast. I think, when did your book come out? Wasn't it July?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
June or July, something of that sort.
Yeah.
It took me about 3 months, and about writing it was a month. Editing took about a month, and that was editing the manuscript, editing the book cover, the graphic designs, formatting the book, and then during that third month was just the continuation of that process, and then publishing it. And man, did it create such a splash. And it's not something that was unique. I've done, I would say, over 100 hours of research, and on how to develop, how to create a great book, and also how to develop a launch team. Like, nobody creates a launch team when they launch a book, but after hours and hours of research, I discovered that what successful people do is they create a buzz on their book, they create they create a launch date, and they create a launch team. And it is people that would buy your book when it comes out, that's people that would share your post when you post on social media. And it is people that have read your book before it's published, and it's people that will leave a review right when you press publish. So I wrote my book, and I had it edited, I had it formatted, and I had this the final draft, and I created a launch team after hours of research. This is something I discovered, and I was able to recruit up to 8 people for my launch team.
Wow.
And these were people that would read my draft, or excuse me, read my final draft before it's published. I gave them a week to do so, almost 2 weeks. And what they did is they read my book, and I asked them to give me an honest review, on Amazon soon as I publish. And so what I did is when I published it, I sent an email out to my launch team saying, "Hey guys, just want to let you know the book is public. Would you be so kind to leave your honest review on Follow Your Curiosity?" And so I the the book, when I went publish, it wasn't something that I announced to the world. It was something that I published, but I did like a silent launch, and that silent launch was about a week. And that was allowing my launch team to leave a review on my book, and those reviews ended up showing up within 4 days or 7 days or so. And when I had my reviews on my book, for Follow Your Curiosity, I already had a launch date set in motion. I've already let people know on social media that my book was launching on a particular date. And so when that Saturday came, and I let everybody know, like, "Hey, Follow Your Curiosity is available." Everybody went on to Amazon. They seen reviews already, and it's something that I believe authors need to have, is they need to have a launch team, just so it is people that are in your corner that can help you succeed, and have reviews. And so I started off with 8 reviews. I'm at 49 right now. I had like somebody from Australia, somebody from I don't know, some other place, I forget, that reviewed my book. And I was just, oh, Canada. And I was like, man, this is so awesome. I see on the all the time that I'm getting new reviews. It's exciting. Barnes and Nobles just picked it up. But yeah, that is definitely a strategy that I had, and it was really great. But that was during the pandemic, and yeah, I really felt like um, it took me 3 months, and that's something I want to help people do. Is it usually takes maybe even 6 months, depending on where you're at with writing it. But I would love to talk a little bit about being a prophetic entrepreneur, if that's okay, Jody.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And also if you're willing to even because I know they're hearing the after part, which is amazing, but I know that there's so much tied to you being obedient and hearing what the Holy Spirit said, when to do it, and how you wrangle those fears, because that's what we're talking about. Is what I love is when you hear Joe, and he is so humble. Like, I remember when it started to come, and it's like, what the heck? Oh my gosh. And it's so to hear the behind the scenes, that's the first time I've ever heard about this launch team. And it excites me, because I believe the entrepreneur mountain is an area that God is really wanting us to go in with that calm confidence, with overcoming whatever fears we have. So yeah, so share. I feel like the Lord has something he wants you to share in that.
Definitely. So I shared a little bit about prophetic entrepreneur, and a little bit about walking with the Lord, um, and walking with Jesus. Breaking fear is a byproduct of walking with Jesus. Seeing miracles is a byproduct of walking with Jesus, and understanding that God is in the mundane. God is in the mess. God is in the boring. I think many times people think that it's the lights, it's the cameras, it's the action, that God's in. When in actuality, God is tending the sheeps with David, and I truly believe that um, the first step um, in my personal journey that helped me become a prophetic entrepreneur, that helped me really walk with the Lord, is understanding peace. um, First and foremost, peace is must be your umpire. Peace must be your guide.
Mm.
Because you have the Holy Spirit, you already have peace. Your job is to protect that peace. Now, many times people wait on the Lord. They're like, what are you doing today, Lord? What are you doing today in the business realm, Lord? Show me, God. And people are praying for God to move like he's the one stuck. God told you to go.
Wait, I want you to say that again because that was so good, Joe.
Yeah. People pray for God to move like he's the one stuck. God told you to go. So what that looks like is that you are empowered. You are entrusted with the Holy Spirit. The Bible says every promise in him is yes and amen. So what does that mean? That means that you have a green light before you to move as you will, to govern as you see fit. And as you walk on this road, you have to understand that the Holy Spirit will lead and guide you, because the Bible says that he governs the king and leads him like the water waves, like the heart of the king in the book of Proverbs, right? So if he could do that to the heart of the king, how much more could he do that to his sons and daughters? So I've always understood that all pressure is on Holy Spirit. I'm just going to live my life. I'm going to make I'm going to execute decisions that I see fit, and I'm going to go because there's a green light before me. However, I understand one thing, that I could walk through life and I have the peace of God. And when I'm going to make a decision, whenever I make a decision and I don't have peace, that's when I stop. Whenever I don't have peace, and you know when you don't have peace, if you ever bought a car that you just had that unsettling feeling about, you're like, I don't know if I should get this, but I'm gonna do it anyways, and then you regretted it afterwards. There's decisions that we've all made that we've had a little check in our heart. I've learned that when we ever have that check, that gut feeling, we have to trust our gut. We have to trust that check in our feeling. That's actually Holy Spirit saying, wait, because the Lord will say wait, or the Lord will say, I have something better in mind when you get that check in your heart. And I've learned to be able to be governed by the peace of God. And that looks like making decisions, being a mover and shaker until I get a red light, so to speak. And so you have to understand that there's no word supernatural in the Bible. You will not find the word supernatural in the Bible. Why? Because God's not in heaven rolling up his sleeves saying, I want to be supernatural today. It's just not who he is, because he's naturally supernatural. So you have to understand that when you became born again, you became supernatural. You became born of the Spirit. So you don't have to pray 10 hours to get into the Spirit. You don't have to do the jumping jacks. You don't have to do a ceremonial cleansing. You don't have to go through all the procedures that they did in the Old Testament in order to get into the presence of God. All you have to do is take a deep breath and just focus on Jesus. And that 5-second vacation will put you in the presence of God. When you just focus on Jesus and you become fascinated with who he is, you rid yourself of the distractions that put you there. So understanding that you wake up in the Spirit, you brush your teeth in the Spirit, you drive your car in the Spirit. Everything you do is in the Spirit. You don't have to listen to a worship song, although that's great. You don't have to read your Bible for the day, although that's important. You don't have to spend 1 hour in prayer in order to become in the Spirit. You are already in the Spirit because you are born of the Spirit. You are born again in the Spirit. And so understanding that that Holy Spirit is your guide. Holy Spirit is your friend, and he's going to lead and guide you. He's going to help you. And understanding that you are of the Spirit because he is of the Spirit will help you out so much. in being an entrepreneur, in being a mover and shaker, and being a hustler, in being a content creator. And I do believe that we will encounter uncertainty. We will question ourselves. Um, because that's normal in our day and age. Sometimes we hear voices, critical voices from people of our past, whether it be a parent when we were growing up, saying that's not good enough, or it has to be better, or you got a B, it should have been an A, or we hear these negative recordings of people that have seen our work in the past and have criticized it negatively, and we are afraid to see or hear something like that again. Um, I have learned to develop close friendships of people that believe in me, um, and being able to have a greenhouse, of people that believe in me, that I can trust, that will tell me the truth, but that I can rest in, because I can develop, of course, I could develop tough skin. Of course, I can begin to, train my mind on believing the right things about what he says about me. However, um, sometimes it is, those times where we are alone, that those thoughts, take advantage of who we are. And I believe you have to develop a great support system. You have to rely on great people, giant killers. David surrounded himself with giant killers. Um, People had, Elijah had Elisha. There's people that we see in the Bible that had great friendships. And I just believe that when you're not strong, you could get around somebody who is, and it will rub off on you. And so when breaking fear is too difficult for you to do it on your own, you have to have a friend, you have to have a great support system that you can rely on, or a community that you can rely on, somebody that can shape you up, dust you off, and say, this is who you are. That's what's most important. I hope you leave with a couple of people in mind that you can support, that you could rely on.
That is so good, Joe. And I wanted to ask you if you could give us a tangible example of identifying, maybe there's a time in your life where you realized maybe there were some people that weren't that, and some characteristics of because what I really liked is you said you have made it a conscious, intentional decision to seek people out that carry that are
Yeah.
cheerleaders of you.
Yeah.
And I know for me, that has been a challenge, because sometimes the ones where maybe in a coaching, I talk about attaching our trailer or our hitch to something, and sometimes that is what's happened is, how do you identify some of those characteristics? And it doesn't mean that they're not still in part of your world and your circle, but I think this is so critical of being able, when you are moving forward and it says go, and the fears are going to come up, but you need that team. So I was wondering if maybe
Yes.
you could give a real life example of some.
Definitely, for
Okay.
sure. Well, I do want to speak into it first before I can give a real life example. I think as movers and shakers, as go getters, as people that get stuff done, our destiny is too big to live offended. Our calling is too important to be bitter. So, as people that get stuff done, you may have experienced people giving you their word and then going back on it. People that you may have trusted and that abused that trust. That hurts. That hurts. When you find out somebody that you thought was a friend is not a friend. However, we can't get hung up on that. We got to keep pushing. to what God has called us to do. Our destiny is way too big, and I believe that there's the biblical definition with the word offense in the Bible dictionary. There is the word offense is the same word depiction as a mousetrap in Greek, and so it's just like what the enemy would love to do. He would like to set out the bait to get us offended so he can trap us, right? So somebody can live rent free within our minds.
Ooh.
I believe that we have to focus on what God is calling us to do, and in the midst of understanding and moving forward, we can find people that we can trust, that we can rely on. I love to give the analogy of a tree. There's people in your lives that you'll discover that are leaves. There are people that will just, fade. They would fall off. They may be there when times are good, when things are all sunny, but when things get cold and rough, they're nowhere to be found. There are people that we will find as branches, that they may be strong on the outside, but not so much durable, and there are people that are going to be roots in your life. Those are the people that, you know, don't mind being behind the scenes. Those are the people that want to see you succeed. Those are the people that they themselves are strong in the Lord, and they can be that for you, if you ever need it. I've discovered that I have about 3 to 5 roots in my life. And that ranges from my mother. She's an amazing root in my life. I can always be real upfront with her, and she can always give me the truth and tell me what I need to do. Another is Lance Kaufman. He's a great man of God, and I've been, blessed to know him. And there's people that are roots in my life and that span in different areas, like finances and friendships and relationships. And um those people I can count on to encourage me, and it's taken a while to identify them. um but sometimes you could just know who they are just by the spirit, and not meaning that you want to be codependent on anybody. But it's just people that you just know. For instance, my wife, she's a great root in my life, and so um there are people that want you to succeed, and in being that, or from needing that from people, I think it's most important that you are that for others as well too, and be that for others strategically when you can. So I hope that helps.
That is so good, Joe. Oh my gosh, so good. And I just have to share, she had popped on and she popped off, but Linda is my mom. I'm so proud of her because technology is always challenging, even for me. So she jumped
Me
on.
too.
Yeah, so she jumped on. So I just had to, especially some of my breakthrough group that's on.
And now we know
was
where
like,
you get your great tasting glasses from, because when she came on the screen, I was like, oh, those glasses are amazing. Spectacles, whichever you call it. But
I think those are her. We call them cheaters or readers. I think yeah, those are hers. But we lost her. Hi, Mom. But
hi, Jodi's mom. Thank you for having her.
I just had to say that because when you said your mom was a root, mine was definitely, and that's such a great example, though, of what it and the offense. I call that. John Bevere has a book out. Those that are under my coaching know. Sometimes I hesitate to say things because I'm like, okay, I say this all the time, but I'm 100%. They call the bait of Satan. It's expectations, and if you let it, if you eat it like you were fishing, right, and you eat the bait and it hooks you and you digest it, it's bitterness, it's unforgiveness, and if you notice that you're stopping because of something, then you got to address that, because it will affect you on being able to light is green, go. And I loved what you said about hearing, like even some past voices, like we sometimes think that that's the other person's responsibility to fix it, but sometimes I'm wondering if maybe you can, I maybe just address one more little golden nugget I know you have of like, okay, all of a sudden I'm getting ready to do this and I don't even know why I'm hearing these voices. And maybe it is identifying that there's someone that hurt you. And this it can slow you. I love what you said, why we're probably praying that prayer of God help me move, is because we're stuck and we don't realize it. And I think one of the areas I personally have found is offense is an area, and it normally has a person's face is how it normally comes, and a relationship. And sometimes well, I can only speak for me. Every time it boils down to they didn't meet my expectations.
Yeah, I definitely, um, there's one thing I do want to speak on, because before we talk about forgiveness, um, the issue of mental health, and that is a popular term today in our age, is the importance of mental health. Um, Biblically, the Bible talks about guard your heart, right? For it is the wellspring of life. And it says renew your mind, right? So you can be transformed. These are two things that we have to understand. When it comes to mental health, you have to understand not every thought in your mind is your own. Not every thought that comes across your mind, even if it is a pronoun, even if it is in first person, is your thought. So when discussing mental health, people think that it's, you know, that their health is, I mean, excuse me, that the health, that the mental health that they have is just all over the place and they don't know what to do, and they need to find a quiet place to be able to be stable. Not necessarily. You see, Jesus was in the middle of the storm and he was sleeping, right? And so I believe we have to be in chaotic times, or chaotic places, because those are what peacemakers do, right? They go into crazy atmospheres and they shift them. I love to do that. I love to go into corporate settings, and I have testimony after testimony where I'm in corporate settings and there's people with more degrees than a thermostat. I don't even know if I said that right, but it's just like so many, people that are high profile type of people, and it's just a stressful, chaotic atmosphere, but I could still have joy. I could still be making jokes. I could still be at peace in the work that I'm doing. And people stop and like, man, how are you so happy in this situation? This is crazy, And I'm like, because it doesn't affect who I am, And it's because I understand that these thoughts, this atmosphere is not of me, that my atmosphere within me is greater than the atmosphere that is around me, And so, when it comes to mental health, you have to understand not every thought in your head is your own. So you have to renew your mind. When it comes to what you need to guard you need to guard your heart. And that is the place where your identity is formed. And so guarding your heart is what's most important. But I do want to talk about, when you mentioned about forgiveness, because sometimes we can forgive somebody, but the situation could come back into our mind. And Jesus says forgive 77 times, right? And I think it's important, because just because you forgave somebody doesn't, and the thought comes back into your head, doesn't mean you didn't forgive them the first time. Doesn't mean you have bitterness in your heart. Doesn't mean you're still struggling with that trauma in the past. It just means that you need to renew your mind, or you need to forgive again, press that button again. And when you forgive again, you got to understand that forgiveness isn't the same as trust. Trust is something of this sort. Like if I have a wall, if I have my wallet out, and let's say my friend takes $5 from my wallet, and puts it back, I can forgive him, but I don't have to trust him with my wallet again. I don't have to trust him being around valuable
Wow.
things again. That's just called healthy boundaries. Sometimes we mix love in the body of Christ with being a throw rug, right? We mix like forgiveness with being somebody that people step and trample over. Listen, you can forgive somebody, but you don't have to like them. You can have healthy boundaries. You don't have to trust them again, because that would be stupidity, right? So you could forgive somebody, you could give it to the Lord, you could bless them, you could keep moving forward. It would be healthy and smart to set healthy boundaries with that person, to make sure that you have distance from that person, maybe unfollow on social media. Doesn't mean you are bitter, it just means that you are smart, right? And whenever it pops up again, you could just remember, you could just forgive again. Like, I already forgave them. I blessed them in Jesus' name. I'm going on with my day, And so I hope that speaks into, what society's going through with mental health, and a little bit about forgiveness and trust. And I hope that helps speak into the issue for sure.
So good. And I love what you said about the difference between trust and forgiving, and even the fact that it comes back up, because maybe I'm the only other one, but it happens. And what I find on both sides when I've been encouraging and ministering to people, and they'll be like, I've already forgiven them. And like they're almost, I think we get a little, and so I love even changing and shifting your perspective in that, to go, okay, Lord, it's 77, I'm going to forgive them again. And also realize what it is, because I think the trust piece, I did a study, and it was like the fourth time I did it, Joe. And that time I was going through something, and I realized, oh, God says he gives us wisdom and to guard our heart. And this person has shown themselves to be untrustworthy. So
Definitely.
I need to readjust. I forgave them. But if I'm giving them a space, like that wallet analogy is so good, because if I'm now saying, hey, I trust you, I'm going to allow you to be right around my wallet again. They have not re-shown and rebuilt their trust. And I think inside the church, especially, sometimes it's like turn the other cheek, right? But with trust, it is earned, and you can forgive and you can readjust your boundaries. And it doesn't mean that you're a bad, horrible person. It means you're a healthy person that is saying, and that has been a pivotal role, even when I have to start to go, oh, I had to forgive them because they haven't shown themselves trustworthy. I'm a little sad for that, because I am, I'm an extreme encourager, like exhorter. So I am normally everybody's number one fan. So someone you love, when all of a sudden they keep showing they're not at a place where they could be trustworthy with this. And I think that piece is so powerful of what you just shared. So that is so good. And I want to honor you, because I know I said an hour and we got started a little late. How
It's
much,
okay.
what do you have a hard stop?
No, I think we could go until 11:30 for sure. If there's any
Okay.
questions that people have, I do want to leave some final thoughts, if I can. But I definitely believe that what you just shared, Jody, about boundaries is important. There needs to be levels of intimacy in your life. Jesus had um, John that stood on his that stood to his breast, the disciple that he loved, right? And then he had the three, that came with him, resurrecting the girl. And then he had the 12. And then he had people that he just walked past, when he was going to the city being pushed upon him. And then he had people that he didn't even talk to, like he didn't even say a word to King Herod, And so I think that there needs to be levels of intimacy within our lives, levels of access in our lives, especially when we have something valuable to give. We have to guard it. We have to be intentional with our time. I think it's only right and it's only wise to do so.
I love that. And what just came out as you said that is, so expectations are normally what lead to offense, but shifting your mind and being so like what came to me is, if somebody it's okay to be disappointed, but going, if I, because of maybe a title or a role or someone that I've done a whole lot, or because they're my family, I grew up with and we're blood, right? I have an expectation that they are supposed to be trustworthy. I have an expectation that they're supposed to be doing something. That is something I think we need to uproot in our mind and our heart. And sometimes it's a process of grieving or saying, okay, I am disappointed. Like that really did disappoint me. I really did think that they were this person and they're not. But shifting it, if there needs to be forgiveness, forgive, and realizing it. And I think that is huge. And when you were saying that, that was what I was getting. And I think I see Rachel has her hand up again. And so I don't know if Rachel has a question. And I know Craig's wife, Hannah, joined. Hannah and Craig are my Wealth Builder one-on-one clients. And Hannah is in the process of stepping into actually writing a book around helping with the process of losing a mom. And so I don't know if Hannah has a question. I just wanted to make sure that I think Elle took hers off. So I felt like we had a couple of questions. So Rachel first, then Elle, and then if anyone else has one.
Yeah, I do have a question. First of all, Joe, I love everything you're saying, but I especially loved when you were talking about how when we become born again, we're born of the Spirit. And I literally just over the past 2 days and this morning was watching a teaching on that. So it's just really confirming and cool. My question is, when you have gone through relationships and like a lifetime of relationships where there's been such heavy manipulation that it causes you to second guess even where you think you may be feeling peace. And so it prevents you from making decisions in completing things and everything, because you do hear those inner voices. What I come up against sometimes is I try to talk myself out of, okay, that's a lie. That's just because of an old wound. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'm thinking that I have peace because I'm so used to being manipulated in this place. Do you know what I mean? Like it becomes a quick unraveling and I don't know what peace even feels like anymore. Obviously in that moment, I'm not feeling peace, but it's because I start to question everything.
Right. Right. I believe wounds have a way of shaping us, either turning us into passive, either turning us passive or turning us aggressive, right? But the perfect place to be is assertive with who we are, assertive with our time, assertive with our calling, assertive with our family and our priorities. Um, I believe it is the most powerful thing we can do is say no. Because whenever we say no to something, we're saying yes to something else. And so when there is, you know, theology that shapes us because we may have been in a church culture that it was controlling, and we think God is that way, or there is, past relationships that we have been taken that took advantage of us. Um, I think it's important that we are able to identify when we're in an unhealthy place and understand it's okay, if you're not okay, but being able to, understand what healthy looks like, you know, and getting around somebody that is healthy, seeing a counselor, is good. It's a good thing. I probably go once a year, or when I find a real roadblock that really begins to hinder me, I go and see my counselor. She helps me out so great. My wife does as well too. After childbirth, she fell into depression, and she really understood, like, wait, I don't think this is normal. We didn't even know what depression was, and we identify, like, you know what, I think this is not healthy, and so that's the first step, and the second step is getting help, and then the third step is walking it out. And so if you are able to identify, like, I don't even think this is what real peace is supposed to look like, that's the first step. And being able to seek help, or being able to identify what you need to do, it should be the next step. And don't feel selfish for being a good steward of your time. I think we misunderstand selfish and stewardship. The Lord has called you to be a steward. Even in the book of Genesis, he gave Adam this authority, and he told him to steward the garden, right? We are called to steward the garden of our heart. And it's not selfish to be a steward of your time, to be a steward of your priorities, to be a steward of what God is calling you to do. It's actually wisdom, and you need to be accountable to what God is doing in your life and not what he's not doing. So I hope that helps.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Of course.
Elle, did you have a question?
No, I'm all good. I had a question earlier on, but it's moved on. It's okay. It's all fine.
Are you sure? No
Yeah,
questions?
no, I definitely would I'd much rather have enough time for Joe's final thoughts, and he was going to pray and stuff. So
Okay. I just want to make sure no one else has a question.
Even if we go over a little bit, it's okay. This is something that I am definitely honored to be part of. And if you have something that you want to share or ask, please go right ahead.
my question was about marketing, and Holy Spirit was like,
Oh,
"Oh, do you know what?
beautiful.
Just no." But he was also like giving me a bit of a talking to, and go, "Look, don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you what to do." So I mean,
awesome.
I'm sort of on the fence about it. But basically, I've written and published like 7 or 8 books over the years, and so, but I've never had like a bestseller. I've never had a team like you're describing. So the stuff you already shared around that stuff was already really helpful. So it's absolutely fine.
Awesome.
Honestly, it's all good.
Awesome. Well, Elle, do you have any thoughts to do a relaunch?
Maybe not. I don't know, because
No?
some of the books are I've got a mix of stuff in there. Some of the books are fiction.
Right.
Some of them are like things that I do as part of my playground. So I've done. There's a fiction I'm writing now. I say I'm writing it now.
Right.
All I've done is like launch the cover. So
Right.
that one I can see how I could do that with a launch team potentially.
Right.
But
So you gotta. Oh, I'm glad you brought this up. I've done over 100 hours of research. Okay, and that's just modest. I probably have done more. My wife will tell you 2020 was crazy. And when you publish your book, there's only 2 categories that you can put for Amazon. They say, what is your book about? And what's the audience that you want to reach, right? And so you could only pick like business, and then you could only pick like self-help, right? What I've discovered is that you can actually call Kindle Publishing and say, I would like to add 8 more categories.
Oh, seriously? Wow, I didn't know that.
And when you add 8 more categories, there's an app that's called uh, Rocket. I believe it's called Rocket Publisher.
I've heard
Give
of
me one
that. Yeah.
Yes, it's called the Rocket Publisher, and this is something that's just off the tip of my mind, you know.
Mm.
And that gives you excuse me, Publisher Rocket.
Mm.
Publisher Rocket is a great app to see what categories could best identify your book.
They let you
But
drill right down as well, because that's the other thing I've seen
yes,
some people do. Because sometimes your bestseller, not that I'm saying your bestseller did that, but like some bestsellers, there are bestsellers in a category where there's only like 5 books ever been published, for example.
correct.
So,
Yes. So Amazon won't allow your book to be part of a category that doesn't pertain to your book. But I believe that if there's my book was a multiple bestseller in multiple categories.
congratulations.
And thank you. But for one particular category that I chose, you only had to sell over 15 or 16 books, you know? And so I was able to sell over 15 to 16 books. On my launch day alone, I sold nearly 300 and something books, right? And so we are able to, pick categories that were, mid-range, high range, and then also low range. And
did you ring them up after you like you hit publish? Did you have to wait for 72 hours and then you rang them once it was already published, or did they?
Correct. So that's the strategy that I am coaching my coaches, is having a silent launch and then a public launch. So a silent launch is basically your book is public, but you're not telling anybody, right?
No.
It's like it's that week before you told everybody else when it's available, correct? So during that time, your launch team can leave reviews, and then you can call Amazon. And they literally call you back. Like you just say, we need to talk, and you press the button, they call you within 3 minutes, right?
Oh, wow.
They're really great at Author Central, right? At Kindle Direct Publishing. So they call you, and then you just tell them like, hey, I would like to open my book on these categories. And hopefully when you do that, you've done the research on Publisher Rocket and seen what categories you wanted your book to be on.
So you don't ever use the pre-sell option then? Because what I've done with some of mine, like the little Holy Spirit love notes, at the end of the first one, I then link. I say, if you've enjoyed this next one comes out at this date in the future, and there's a pre-order thing then.
Awesome. Well, I have not. Has that been something that has been beneficial?
Well, no, because I haven't really publicized the first one in order to sell it enough to do it.
Okay.
But I mean, theoretically, it should work really well. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Multiple books along the same genre, for sure. It is an amazing idea. And I think that when you do something like that, you have to have a launch team. You have to have even the end goal in mind, with whether it be, starting to develop speaking engagements or content on YouTube so that you can develop an audience. And that just helps with the marketing side. For me, after my launch, I was able to be on several podcasts. I was able to do a lot of speaking engagements virtually, and then also do, high school seminars. And it was in the middle of the pandemic. I think it was really successful for being in the middle of the pandemic. But if it was in any other circumstances, there's a lot of options you can do. You can, do a
It's
conference.
not really
you
like
can do things of that sort.
Yeah, because I really just published initially to scratch an itch, and then it went from there. And so I think actually, with hindsight, of what God's been showing me is because I set up this publishing company in order to publish my books. I'm now publishing other people's books, and so it's all part of the journey.
Wow.
So my priority, I joke that my books are my retirement plan. Like they're not really sort of like, they're just there at the moment, so because I personally believe that every business should have a book on Amazon, because they're a great calling card. You can use them for lead gen and all the rest of it. So it's there for that as well. But I mean, quite candidly, they don't sell much at the moment, but it's all. But no, that's really helpful about the categories. I didn't know that, so thank you.
Yes, of course, of course. I'm going to actually leave a link if anybody is interested in writing a book and being coached before my course is launched. I'm going to leave this link of my email. Please email me. I would love to connect with you. And yeah, I would love to help you on your journey and give you first dibs on my online course.
That is awesome.
So if
That
there's
is
not any
awesome.
other
Yeah.
questions, I would love to give some final thoughts, Jodi, but I would love
I just
to
saw
maybe if you have a
D.
transition in mind.
Yeah, I just saw D said yes. So did you have a question? One of my good friends, she always says, are all hearts clear? So D, you do have a question. Okay, because I keep feeling like there's a couple more people that are holding back asking Jo. Did you have a
Hi,
question?
D.
D has a newborn baby. Yeah, she's
it all together. To make the format right, because I mean, I basically know what I want to put down, but it's just getting it all typed out and in the correct order, so that I've kind of been on hold, from actually getting my book out because of that. I kind of felt stuck. It's like, well, Lord, I mean, I know what all I need to say, and I can like tell it to you, but it's getting it all down like on the paper or in the computer, typing it out. That's the thing that's like, for me. So I've been kind of stuck in that area. So this whole call right here, this whole Zoom meeting right here has been awesome for me. But I know I need coaching, like kind of to move me forward in that. I mean, the little keys that's been coming out today has been very helpful to me. So
thank you, D.
thanks for leaving that email over there as well.
Yeah, one thing that helped me, and I had this idea, the follow your curiosity idea. I have the prophetic entrepreneur coming out. I have a children's book called Tortillas, coming out. But when I wrote Follow Your Curiosity, I was right where you were, D. Like I had these ideas and like I kind of like was all over the place. And after my research, what I found is I had to go back and to the beginning and really let out all my ideas on a piece of paper that can help me structure what I have in my heart. And so the Stanford has developed a technique that a lot of people use today. It is called mind mapping, and it's the circle with the idea, and then it branches out to another circle, and it's like a brain map, right? That leads to another circle, that leads to another circle, and all these different circles, right? That you could put your idea on a piece of paper. For me, I put market research, right? Confidence, my story. And I had this idea that led to so many other ideas that helped me structure my book. And I looked at these bubbles, this mind map that I created, and I seen on this mind map what I had a lot of ideas around, what bubble I had a lot of ideas around. And I said, you know what? This bubble right here needs to be a chapter, just because I have so many ideas for this one bubble, right? This bubble over here needs to be a chapter. This bubble needs to be part of a chapter because there's not enough ideas on this bubble, right? And structuring my book by developing a mind map really helped me hit the ground running when I was in your place of having all those ideas, but just stuck, right? It really helped me get to the finish line for sure. And so I would say that's the first step we need to start. You know, sometimes we start at the end. You know, we have the title in mind, and then we work from backwards. I believe if we're going to start writing a book, the first step needs to be to mind map.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course, of course.
Awesome. Is there anyone else? I wanted to just, if there is, you can take your mic off or you can drop. Elle did say there's an app called otter.ia. I tend to be a verbal processor, so that has helped me. You can actually just speak into it, but I love what you're saying.
Takes a bit of
Jill.
editing afterwards, to be fair. But I remember one time, only once, I'm usually really good at typing, but this one time I was really stuck on a chapter for somebody else's book. And so I literally paced around my house and delivered it like it was a keynote speech. And then otter.ai, I think you get up to 600 minutes a month free. They'll then transcribe it, and then it even copes with my funny accent, so it's pretty good, in fairness.
Okay.
I gotta say.
Okay.
So
I think
wrote
I
it
just
down.
saw
Really good.
Hannah. Hannah, I think I saw you take your mic off. I know what I love is we have lots of people on with kids that are virtual learning, homeschool learning. So Hannah, did you take your mic off? Did you want to ask Joe a quick question?
Yeah, I took my mic off. Hi. Thank
Hi,
you.
Hannah.
I actually so I don't really have a specific question, but I was just gonna say this is like awesome. And Craig,
Aw,
my husband,
thank
was
you.
like, he was like, you need to check this out because I never could really do these, but my daughter's been sick and she finally felt better. And then anyways, I got on late, so I'm gonna go watch the replay. But the structure thing and mind map, that was awesome. I need to incorporate
Aw.
that because I am stuck. I have all these ideas and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Like, how do I even structure this? So that is awesome. I'm going to start with that
That's
and
awesome.
then
That's
go
awesome to
forward. So
hear.
thank you very much.
Of course, of course. And just remember, your first draft isn't your final book. So don't be intimidated. Don't get in your mind, get in your head when you're just fulfilling and writing paragraphs, you know. Sometimes that's what the first draft looks like. It means to write 4 to 5 paragraphs, or excuse me, 2 to 3 paragraphs on one idea, and write 2 to 3 paragraphs on another idea, you know, but not being able to have that transition to one idea to another idea. Don't get hung up on that. Just write. I think that's what hangs up a lot of writers and authors, is like they want it to be perfect on their first draft and they prohibit themselves from writing. And I believe for your first draft, you just have to write everything out, get it all out. Once you begin to structure, and right after you mind map and you structure what you feel like should be strong chapters and things of that sort, write. Set a part in your schedule, set time in your schedule. For me, it was at 9 o'clock when my son went down to bed. Everybody was sleeping. It was the only time I had for myself after running my business all day, right? And so I made it a habit to just write, even if it was a paragraph, even if it was a sentence that I had at 9 o'clock at night. I had to make it a religious routine just to open up my laptop and write at least one sentence. And sure enough, if not happened all the time, I ended up writing more than just one sentence. I developed a word count that I wanted to meet every day, right? But it was important for me just to write everything that I had. And once I finished writing everything, I completed my first draft after 20,000 words. That was my goal, to reach that 20,000 words. And I literally had nothing left in me. You know, after that, I was able to edit my first draft and then comb through it, you know, begin to add the transitions, help certain things make sense. And so if you're at that place, don't let perfection hinder you. Just do the best you have with what you have and write.
Awesome. That's what I need to hear. So,
Mhm.
no, thank you. That it's perfection and trying it and making the time. So I'll totally, even if it's seriously like a sentence or two, that's awesome. So
Yeah,
thank you.
there's a book called Atomic Habits that I have that was so good for me because I didn't read it all, but what I could just tell you what I got out of it. You don't even got to buy it, but
Uh-huh.
atomic mean like small. You know, if you start something new by just doing it small each and every day, it will begin to get bigger, right? And so for me, um, I dread it to write. I was like, I'm dreading it because it's like it's so hard, you know. It's intimidating, but knowing that every author feels that way, and knowing that if you can just write a sentence, if you can just write a paragraph for that day, that's victory. And that's what I began to do. And once you get started, that's it. Nothing can stop you. You're just off to the races, you know. But it's getting into that chair. It's sitting down at 9 o'clock, you know, when you know you finally got time, or in the bathroom when you finally got time with your laptop. That's the biggest hassle. But once you open up that thing, the atomic habit begins to develop, and then you're off to the races.
Great. Thank you.
That is so
Welcome.
awesome. And I think we've had, hi, Susanna. I don't know if I said hi when you joined. I know we've had some people pop on and off, but Elle said, I've had people who dump all the things out and realize that they have 3 books at least. So you're
Definitely.
not writing the one book to rule them all.
Because I think that gets people stuck as well. They get like, oh, this has got to be like this is going to be the book. And actually, no, most people, you know, yes, you may decide you don't want to do it ever again. But if you let go of the pressure of, oh, this is the one book, you know, and actually, like you talked about with the bubbles, you might find actually one bubble is so huge and then bubbles off bubbles that you end up with,
Right.
oh, this is a whole book all of its own. And also,
Definitely.
I like that idea. I describe it as like daily units of what's the smallest viable unit of this book. I've got one of the ladies in the playground who's trying to do a book and hasn't written since December. And I said, okay, what's the minimum viable unit of writing, you know, how, and just do that, like 200 words done every day. Yes, you won't get your book done in a month, but 200 words is, everybody can write 200 words. I don't care how many children you've got. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I haven't got 6 kids. And I'm not having to go at you in particular. Rachel, please don't think I'm not calling you out. Golly, sorry. I just mean by like 200 words, you can write 200 words on your phone, you know, like anybody can write 200 words. And okay, it'll take longer, but you'll get it done. And that's, you know, that's done is better than perfect every time. So I agree with everything you said. I think it's brilliant.
Okay, and I just
Mhm.
saw Susanna took her microphone off. So did you have a question, Susanna?
No, I just wanted to say this was so awesome. I also got in a little bit late, but the healthy boundaries is something that I always had a problem with. And I'm 62 and I'm learning about it now. And Joe, you are awesome. I love you. And Tanisha, I love you guys. And Jodi, you just keep on keeping on because you are pushing through. You are opening doors. The Lord is opening doors for you. I'm just excited about today and about everything. And the Lord is moving so awesomely. I saw Joe at it was like a conference for pastors, and it just made my heart skip a beat to see him running around with his cameras all over the place. He is awesome. I thank God for all of you. This was awesome.
Aw,
Thank
thank
you
you,
for
Susanna.
inviting me.
Thank
And
you.
I got to get your book, Joe.
Thank you, Susanna. And what I did want to just add was no matter if it's a book or anything else, I do believe that especially in this season that God is calling ideas, businesses, whatever that is. And I wanted to encourage you, if you're thinking, I'm not supposed to write a book or I'm not sure about that, that everything that Joe is sharing, even the launch team, God just reminded me when the whole process of connecting the dots, and even this particular fearless experience, I had about 7 people that were part of my team. And let me tell you, I needed them because there were some things that happened. I mean, I think I even said, Joe, can you pray for me? And so I wanted to say that because no matter if it's a book or it's a part of, it's one of your businesses. And like for me, as I even started to write out and do those bubbles, I was like, what the heck is a mind map? I remember I did one. God started to show me businesses that I had. And I kept fighting it because I thought you're only supposed to have one entrepreneurial business. And when I've been just sitting and dreaming with him, he told me books too. And he's like, that's an additional part, an additional one. And so I just wanted to say that because I felt like the Lord was saying there might be some people that are like, well, I'm not quite sure, but I believe that every person, God has put ideas. And if you're here, you're probably an entrepreneur or going to be something of that form in whatever area God's calling you. And you're probably a prophetic something too, because that's just who the Lord normally brings towards me. So I just wanted to say that. And Joe, I'm going to let you just end however the Lord's leading you.
Hey,
Okay,
Joe,
well, oh
I'm
yes.
so sorry. I only have 3% left, so I'm just gonna say goodbye
No, it's
now.
okay.
But
Okay.
I want to release something real quick because as you were talking, after I had asked my question before last, I started coming out into my car and cleaning it out just like subconsciously. And I realized that one of the things that I do and one of the business things that God has planted in me is one that encourages prophetic acts as activations. And so I really felt as you were talking, Jodi, that if what any of you guys listening have really felt the stirring, that you just ask Holy Spirit what a prophetic act could be for you to launch into the activation of what you're wanting to step out in. For me, it's my car, and I'm cleaning out the car seats and everything, and I realize all the layers and detail in it, and I just really feel like it's a really heavy ministry, entrepreneurship. And so I just really felt compelled to release that to encourage you guys to do a prophetic act today in activating that.
Amen.
And I love you, Joe, and tell Tanisha
Love you
hi for
too.
me. And if I drop off here, it's because my phone died.
No worries. It's
All
great
right.
seeing, great talking to you again.
Yes, you too.
So yeah, I would love to just leave with some thoughts and maybe we can pray. Um, because I believe that the Lord wants to impart wisdom, He wants to impart strategy, and it's a time to recalibrate and reimagine possibilities, reimagine lifestyle, reimagine what can be. And I believe that we are in an age that is in constant change. The market is constantly changing with competition, with um, ideas, with technology, and more than ever, it is time that we set a goal for our life to become valuable in the marketplace. And I do want to encourage you that now is a time to um, look at the market and see what is happening, what's changing, what's coming down the line, and then jumping on board. Don't be afraid to jump on board with what is new. I'm inspired by men like men and women who have seen what's changing in the market and then jumped on board. People like Steve Jobs, seen that in the 70s, seen that computers were something that people started to develop an interest in. Jeff Bezos, his story's famous. He was in investment banking, and he's seen the growth of the internet in 1994 was up 2,300%, and he knew that there was an opportunity there. And so I want to encourage us to open up our eyes to see where opportunity is. because it should be our goal to join the top 20% of income earners in our industry. That means whatever industry you're in, look at the top 20%. What are they making? What are they doing differently? What are they charging their clients? Find that out, and you can build that bridge to meet that goal. That's what changed my career. It changed my career trajectory, was looking at the marketplace, seeing where it was going, and then jumping on board. For me, it was in 2015. I seen that the market was heading toward video, that video would be, the mainstream of over pictures in 2015, and I jumped on board with starting the business, and it blew up, and so if you can identify those things and get in line and position yourself now, you can become pandemic proof. You can become recession proof. And I believe that the Lord, the Bible says that he rejoices in the prosperity of his servants, right? There's something about, I don't know. There's something about the kingdom that we are called to be kings in the marketplace, right? We're called to be kings and priests. And so I just want to encourage everyone here that I want to pray for you, that you're able to see, that you do not doubt yourself, that you are able to adjust and fully go full steam ahead in the coming days that are approaching us. So is it okay if I pray?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So Father, I just thank you for the spirit of wisdom and revelation that rest on your people. Father, I pray for a spirit of wisdom and revelation to rest on each and every one here today. I declare a spirit of breakthrough over them, Lord. The Bible says that the battle belongs to the Lord. So where we have chose to pick up our shield, where we have chose to pick up our sword, I encourage, Lord, to let those things down, and it's time to rest in the presence of the Lord, because they may come with shield, they may come with spear, but we come in the name of the Lord. And so I just speak rest over your sons and daughters this morning. I declare that the battle is the Lord. The breakthrough is the Lord. And I just declare that we are seated in heavenly places with Christ Jesus. I declare the manifold wisdom of God over each and every one here today. It is that easy. I believe we are one perspective away from our breakthrough. I believe we are one perspective away from our miracle. And it is that easy to say, I trust you, Lord. I give it to you, Jesus. All pressure's on Holy Spirit. It's your job. You're at work behind the scenes. I'm going to rest in your love. I'm going to rest in your peace. And rest doesn't mean absence of work. It just means rest from disappointment. It means resting from fear. It means resting from stress. So, Father, I just declare peace, grace in this season, and I just declare that the voice of the Holy Spirit be turned louder in this season, and every voice be turned lower. And I just declare your angels on assignment for these ones to be activated now in Jesus' name. From the days and the nights to come, dreams, visions, and encounters now in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Wow. Joe, I cannot even tell you, we have almost 2 hours here. Like, there's a bonus in itself. I thank you so much, because I believe, even as I put this 5 together and you and I were talking around it behind the scenes, I was like, okay, where I knew that God had something in you, and this just, like, I feel like really capped us at 4 and is going to move us into 5 of so much. I cannot even tell you how much I appreciate your time, your willingness, your support of me. So I just thank you so much. And I will put his email in also, but in case you guys are like, I didn't see the comments, I'm watching it on replay. It is super easy. It's where his name is right there, just JOEPONI, joepony@gmail.com. So send him a message, let him know that you are in Camp Gambini and that you're interested. And I know obviously you guys have experienced Joe. He's going to fill up really fast. And so I just knew that this was going to be something amazing that we got to capture before he hasn't even really announced it anywhere. So, and just the blessings. So I just bless you, Joe. I don't
Thank you,
know
Jodi.
if anybody is on and had anything they wanted to share or say for Joe right now, if the Lord's giving you anything.
I just want to say thank you. This has been very good. I know that wasn't what you had in mind. I know you had like
No,
prophetic
that's
stuff in
good.
mind probably,
That's
but I just want to say
good.
thank you. It's been awesome.
Yes,
But also
of
actually the
course.
thing about the whole top 20%, and I'm there going, I don't even know what industry I'm in. So there's been lots to chew on and go back. And I don't often watch replays because I'm terrible at them, because if I was on the call, but I suspect I shall go back because there's lots to glean from this. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So Joe, I just want to, the only thing that I just keep getting is that there is something on this for authors right now, and the coaching that the Lord is calling you into. And I just I just wanted to pray a blessing. So Holy Spirit, we just thank you, God. We thank you that Joe is resting in he's just laying back on your lap saying, Daddy, I know what you've given me, and it seems big, but nothing's too big for my Father to partner with me. So Lord, we just release, God, I just thank you that even as he was speaking this out, that you were releasing wisdom, and you were releasing, you're just revealing things and bringing revelation and activation even in him, and next steps to step through. So Lord, we just bless Joe. We bless their whole family, God. And I thank you that he's going to be the top 1%. So Lord, we just thank you for that right now in your mighty name. So thank you,
Amen.
Joe.
Amen. Appreciate it,
Everyone,
Jodi.
I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to let you know that we are going to be on number 5. I'm working on a few people for a panel. There's a very possibility, make sure that you guys are watching your emails, because I may have a few surprise fireside chats. They'll be up, but I've put a few calls into some people and just want it to flow however the Lord goes. We might have a bonus afterwards. But I hope you guys have been enjoying this, and this will be available. All the replays are available. If you've had a problem getting on into my website, let me know. Send me a personal email or message, and I'm willing to help you. So blessings to you all. I'm going to go ahead and end this, but Joe, if you'll hold on for just a second.
Okay, will do.
Okay, I think I stopped it. Okay, not yet.
Still recording.
Okay.